And we welcome you to another edition of On the Hash with Hatfield here from the Plex as we talk to you on this it is a drizzly Thursday, the final one of September 2023. I'm rocking the Arizona Cardinals hat, which is blocking the signage of the Virginia Beach Sports Plex, which you can come out to on Friday night because there's a big matchup with Atlantic Shores playing host to Nansemond Suffolk Academy, a couple of private schools going toe to toe. So go check that out. We'll have some scores from this past week's Monday and Tuesday games, as well as a look ahead to what's on deck with the schedule, scrolling across our ticker as we move it along. But we are streaming on our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel, and also it'll be available for folks to watch later on virginiapreps.com. It's on our 757 Sports Talk X page, or Twitter page, as some still refer to it, and on our Facebook page with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex and Regional Training Center as well. We do weekly podcasts for you. Every Thursday is our football podcast on the Hash with Hatfield right here. We do our field hockey podcast, which has been shifting around a little bit from Thursdays to Wednesdays the last couple of weeks here. We're going to actually try to bump it up to Monday or Tuesday, I think, this coming week. So actually, I think we did it this past week on a Tuesday. So it's been all over the place. And then Saturdays is our regular 757 Saturday Sports Talk program with yours truly and the coach, Ed Young, as we talk to you about everything in the world of sports, local, high school, college, pro, and beyond. And we'll be soon taking your phone calls, and you can always interact with us on our live chats and our streams and comment to us, tweet at us, do all those good things, and we will get you taken care of with all that good stuff. Well, we did have a couple of throwers that I was able to take in on the gridiron. We get, so revved up for big games, and sometimes they disappoint. It's not as exciting as you hope they will be, as far as you want it competitive down to the wire, last possession, last play of the game. And we got one in Suffolk last Thursday night as some games got moved up in advance of the tropical storm and the weather that transpired. And then you also had some games that got moved to Monday and Tuesday. Well, Kings Fork outlasted Nansemond River in a doozy, a double overtime classic last week in Suffolk. There were so many great storylines. We actually documented some of that for folks to check out on virginiapreps.com and our Hats Hits. We actually did that on IG Live, and we did a Hats Hits with the Twitter takeaways that we do on Friday nights about that. But great game from Javon Ford running the football. The defense stepped up with some timely takeaways, getting a fumble recovery, getting some INTs, players stepping up to go with Javon Ford all across the board. You had Kayvon Blaney get a pick late in that game. You had Jean-Pierre Belay with the game-winning field goal. And you also had on Tuesday night, after the Monday night Bay Rivers District action, you'll be seeing a little bit later on in our episode here of the podcast, Andy Linn of Lafayette. You'll be checking in with Anthony Joffrion, who was a guest last week. By the way, if you come on the show, you're still unblemished. Just want to put that out there. Wayne Lance, Atlantic Shores, won the next week. You had tab coach John Byron, won the game against York that followed up. Anthony Joffrion comes on the show, he wins. So if you come on with me, you win. If you come on with me and Coach Ed Young, I can't promise you'll win, because Lamort Smith has lost a couple in a row since coming on with him and me. We blame Ed as the jinx. His first Colonial took the L. It's not my fault. It's Ed's fault. So there you go. But so after my Monday night Bay Rivers District football action, to go with the MNF double dip with Philadelphia taking down Tampa Bay and Cincinnati with Joe Burrow and the Bengals and the boys from Cincinnati outlasting Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Got a great first name to us, Mr. Stafford. The game is not as great as it was a couple years ago when they beat Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. I was going through an airport in Charlotte coming back from Alabama, Birmingham, calling an ODU women's game for the Lady Monarchs, if you will, the Lady Monarchs, as they took down UAB on Super Sunday, coming back in Charlotte to the airport. A lot of Bengals fans rooting for them against the Rams that day, but we digress and move along. But Lafayette cruised against Smithfield. You'll hear from Andy Linn in a second. But a great game on Tuesday night as Cox came from a double-digit deficit down to stun Salem, getting a huge completion of Gerard Johnson, the Virginia Tech commit, and then it was Gage Trefry to Carter Rodriguez on 4th and goal from the 15 with under 4 minutes to go, as Cox could easily be 2-3, but they're 4-1 as they've won now 3 straight games by 7 points or less. They were down against Bayside, got a fumble recovery with under 2 minutes to go, won that game, piecing together a 75-yard drive behind Trefry. Was down early 3-0 to Ocean Lakes, won that game 10-3, and then here they go coming from 14-3 down to beat Salem. So there have been some good games as it's going to set up here for the second half of the season, some district battles. We'll see if anybody can challenge your heavyweights, your favorites like Green Run in the Beach, Maury in the Eastern. The Southeastern, who is that heavyweight right now, it's Kings Fork as the only team with a goose egg in the loss column. The Peninsula, there are 2 teams with goose eggs in the loss column, with Phoebus defending 2-time state champs in Class 3, now competing in Class 4. And Warwick, who's got a nice little shutout streak going on with Corey Hairston's Raiders. And by the way, they got a big one on deck due to Raiders with Phoebus at the end of the year. They're not going to look past opponents, but that one's they're circling to try to beat the Phantoms. They're the reigning Region 4A champs, trying to get themselves situated for a Class 5 Region B. Big battle with maybe Maury. You got Kings Fork and Nansemond River in that region, so some really good stuff on deck there in the PD. And in the Bay Rivers, War Hill, they got their huge showdown with Lafayette a week from Friday, so we'll probably connect with Jerome Rhodes as we get a little closer to that coming up. So a lot to go over. We've got our Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week we'll be unveiling in a little bit as well. And we'll go through their VirginiaPreps.com top 10s for all 6 divisions from Class 6 all the way down to Class 1. So all kinds of great things to get you set up for with the high school football scene as we're getting to that midway point. And maybe we'll do some awards coming up next week or in a future episode, get you to weigh in on social. Who do you think are the players of the year, be it offense or defense, in each of the 5 districts, the Beach, the Eastern, the Southeastern, the Peninsula, and the Bay Rivers district, maybe even sprinkling some of the private school athletes as well to get your feeling on some of them, who are the best guys on that side of it as well. So a lot happening across the 757, and we'll be hearing from some coaches in a little bit, including Andy Linn. But we're going to first hear from the head football coach of the Kings Fork Bulldogs, and he had a nice little beautiful little one with him after the big win over Nansemond River. That place was rocking out there in Suffolk. My goodness, was it ever. Great one between the Bulldogs and the Warriors, and we will now hear from the coach, Anthony Joffrion, here on The Hash with Hatfield.
All right, here with Kings Fork head football coach Anthony Joffrion. His team wins a double overtime thriller, 24-21 over Nansemond River. Coach, you were on the other side of an overtime classic last year, regular season finale. This one comes in September, and the fans, all of them in his packed to capacity crowd here in Suffolk, got their money's worth tonight, and you all rallied in the fourth quarter. How'd you do it and respond?
I was just proud of the way our kids responded. You know, it was 4 minutes to go. We're down 14-7. Defense made a huge stop. And our offense, which didn't score, I want to say we didn't score since like the second quarter or the first quarter. And they come up with a drive. Our coaches did a great job, and we ended up scoring. It was just a team effort. Special teams, a freshman kicker making all his kicks. Defense making stops when we need it. And, our young quarterback making plays when we needed it.
And speak to that, Jean-Pierre Bellet, I know you used a timeout. They used a timeout after your score that made it 14-13 regulation. Would you go for 2? I'm sure you thought about it. You get to overtime. Do you leave the offense on the field there and go for a touchdown? But he came through with a couple of clutch kicks for you.
Yeah, but you know what's even crazier? So he actually plays soccer. Like, he travels, like, across the country to play soccer. Uh-huh. And yesterday we moved the game up, and Bellet was like, I can't be there Thursday, coach. I'm like, what do you mean? I need you for this game, right? But at the time, I'm thinking, like, we'll be fine. We don't, we'll have Javon kick or something like that. And then I talked to his dad. His dad said he's not missing this one. So it was huge that Dad let him play. And shout out to his soccer coach who allowed him to come to the game tonight.
Yeah, maybe some extra snacks or desserts for the dad and the soccer coach, whatever they want.
Whatever you want.
Speaking of a guy that kicks the ball for you and runs it really well too, Javon Ford, 29 rushes tonight for 148 yards. He had 90, I think 8 of those in the second half. He really ran with some authority in the second half, bringing some tacklers with him on some of those rushes.
Yeah, so what really motivated Javon was last year in overtime against Nansemond. I decided to give the ball to Kalitri Boyd, who's a great player. He's at Elizabeth City State. And, I told him I was giving it to Kalitri because he's a senior. I've known him since 7th grade. And Javon didn't waver. He accepted. He said, I understand your decision, coach. But then tonight he said, hey, I'm the guy you trust now, so I'm going to get it done. It meant a lot to me that he remembered, our statement from last year. And tonight, he carried us on his back. He did a really amazing job.
For sure. We'll get to your defense in a second. Another youngster that stepped up for you, sophomore DeAndre Artis-Boone. The stats might not be the glossiest, but he made some key runs for you, some key completions, and he held his composure against the defense with number 3 coming off the edge, and Manny Azaga, who really was bringing the heat all night long.
Yeah, DeAndre Artis-Boone, he's just a polished kid, man. Nothing really phases him. Through an interception, he's laughing when he comes off the field because he knows that he made the right read but didn't throw the right ball. So he's just a kid, he's used to adversity, and that's who you really want at quarterback. Somebody, they're not up and down, they're going to stay mellow.
It felt like you got better as you got the youngster now here to join you with the interview. It felt like your offense, come more coach, it got better as you went more up tempo in the second half. Was that sort of by design? The kids know what was at stake. It's game on the line, urgency. Yeah. What do you kind of chalk that up to as far as the execution being better when you went to hurry up to a degree?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing was Nansemond River was doing a great job of subbing personnel based on what we were running, formations and things like that. So we know if we went up tempo, they weren't able to get the subs as fast. So I think it was huge for us.
You don't win this game without your defense to go with the special teams and the offense, and certainly Kayvon Blenning had a big takeaway late in the game. Nansemond Gates had a big fumble recovery. And then what can you say about Joshua Pittman? You told me earlier this week on the podcast, number 11, he was making hits all night long against the run and also just stopping plays.
Yeah, Joshua Pittman, he started linebackers for his last season. And we sat down before the season. I was like, Josh, how do you feel about playing defensive end? And he asked me, does it help the team win? I said, yes. And he was more than willing to do it. And now that he's having success at it, he wants to wear 11 like Michael Parsons and things like that. But he's a really great player. He's definitely going to be a Division I kid. College coaches are all over him. He's just a great kid, man.
Well, so it was the versatility you all had, especially in adversity, where you can use for it, running back, flex them out. Pittman can play end linebacker. Did that kind of help you as this went to crunch time, as they had some dual threat guys like Overton and Azagu as well?
Yeah, so they had a lot of guys playing both ways. We did as well, but we had guys sub in. William Anderson, Bubba. He played a big role for us at corner. He played big for us at the end. He was guard number 8. That kid number 8 for them is really special as a sophomore.
Douglas,
yes, he's a really good football player. But I just think our kids just did a great job, not, pointing the finger. That's what I was really proud to see.
I would ask you about your matchup with Indian River next, but I want to know instead who this little angel is you're holding with you.
So this is my daughter, Jay. Her nails are dirty. Who knows what she was just doing.
But she's happy that he got the win.
Yeah, I don't know how you're still up. It's 10 o'clock.
Go get some sleep and rest. Thank you so much. Enjoy the win.
So that was Anthony Joffrion enjoying the victory, as he should. A great game for them against the Nansemond River Warriors, their Suffolk rival. The little one nails dirty, but hey, that's all that matters is they got the win. You can get bath time later and get cleaned up and have the late night sleep after a victory. It's much more enjoyable than a tough loss in double OT. And it was a tough one for Nansemond River, who will certainly try to bounce back here coming up as they've got some key games, including Western Branch this week. As for the Bulldogs, and their defense is getting so many different guys to contribute, getting tackles for loss. Really impressed with Pittman, as I mentioned in that interview with Anthony Joffrion, from his linebacker, defensive end spot. He can move around. They've got Indian River, who's pitched 3 consecutive shutouts coming up on Friday in Chesapeake at James L. Fry Stadium. So that's going to be a tricky one for them, as they know it's not going to be easy to take down that team in a Southeastern District tussle. We've got more interviews, including Andy Linn of Lafayette, as we mentioned, Carter Rodriguez and Gage Trefry of the Cox Falcons. The VirginiaPreps.com top 10's coming your way too, but it is on the hash with Hatfield. Oh yeah, that Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week will be announced shortly as well, but we're going to take a time out and hear from some of the sponsors here that make it possible for us to bring you these podcasts at the Plex and do the things with field hockey and football and soccer and lacrosse and all the great youth activities and local sports, bringing the coverage like nobody else can across Hampton Roads and beyond in the 757 area code. So let's take a time out and hear from John's Tax Services as well as Zoop Eatery and CHKD right here with On the Hash with Hatfield from the Plex.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
KD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
And we welcome you back to On the Hash with Hatfield. Apologize for a couple of technical snafus we were experiencing during the break there, as we've got some more interviews coming your way here on the program. And you heard from Anthony Joffrion of Kings Fork. That's maybe one of the game of the week matchups in the 7-5-7. You've also got a big one at Darling Stadium on Saturday as the Phoebus Phantoms and the Hampton Crabbers go toe-to-toe. Hampton's won a few in a row since that loss to King George. King George has a couple of big-time wide receivers in Mekhi White, Maryland commit Chance Wiggins, a Virginia Tech pledge that gave the Crabbers some trouble. But Hampton's moving the ball pretty well offensively. Got some good performances from Kaios Watford, Jamari Lumpkin, Calvin Chester. A lot of different players, but it's going to be a different tall order for them against that Phoebus defense, which is one of the best around in the entire 7-5-7 area code without a shadow of a doubt. And I'll tell you, a team that played some really good defense almost had a shutout on Monday Night Football. It wasn't the Eagles. It wasn't the Cincinnati Bengals, even though Lou Amarillo is doing a great job with that defense. We're talking about the Lafayette Rams under the direction of one Andy Linn, and we caught up with him following their victory over the Smithfield Packers in Ham Country. Let's hear that now on the Hash with Hatfield from the Plex.
All right, here with Lafayette head football coach Andy Linn. His Rams win at 42-7 on Monday Night Football at the Packers Smithfield. Yeah, we've got a couple Monday Night Football games in the pros, right. But you guys get done here. It's a little bit strange when you don't have a couple of days to be with the guys to prep. Right. A different kind of field tonight than what you're used to over there at Warner and Bailey Field, but you were able to persevere even that long delay in the second quarter, and you held it together and almost had your seventh shutout in the series history dating back to 1997.
Yeah, I mean, it was a couple things, we knew coming in, we hadn't played, we had a bye week last week, so we hadn't played for about 2 weeks, and then we haven't seen the kids for 3 days, like you said. You come to a field that doesn't really play to the jet sweep very well, you can't, and so you gotta be going straight at them a little bit, so I would say I figured we'd start a little slow, and it's not like there was a whole ton of people here, so you're not going to feed off a whole lot of football enthusiasm out here. But I thought they did a pretty good job of just mustering together and then finally just putting it away.
Two kids I want to hit on for you, and you have a number of contributors. Number 4 out here, Peter Cook. He flies all around the football. I think he had 7 or 8 sacks on the year coming in. Just speak to what he brings. And then also for you, James Spencer. He's running the football. He's catching the football. He's really a dynamic player when he gets the ball and can get in space.
Yeah, they're two of those. They're two of the kids that are leftovers from. They both played on the state championship team when they were freshmen. Peter's just a guy. He's an Energizer bunny. He's hard to block. He's strong physically. He's the strongest kid on our football team. And you add that to his quickness, athletic ability to run around. I think I said at one point during the game today, I don't think I'd want to block him because he just goes all day long. And then James is a sneaky athlete. You don't think he's very fast, but he's big. He weighs about 215 pounds, so he doesn't go down very easy. But he's incredibly intelligent. Like, he knows where to be and when to be there. He's a guy I can move other guys around because he can go step into a position and be just fine.
Just so instinctive. And I love about Peter, he's got the road warrior or hawk animal, like the Legion of Doom. He's got that eye black too with him as a linebacker. He's
all in. There's no doubt. He's all in.
You have a myriad of running backs, which you've always been able to do with the wing team, what you do offensively. Do you feel like you're starting to get more settled in and comfortable? Because I know I feel like you gave the game away against St. Chris, had some turnovers in the red zone.
Six fumbles in that game really hurt us a little bit. Three of them inside the 15. Yeah. But we're starting. We do have James and Niles that side of the wing, and Braden Smalls plays a little bit of fullback and wing. We're still not super solidified at fullback, but we're getting closer and closer. Once we get that solidified, I think we'll be all right. Eric Zeldon actually is a really good fullback, but he's our starting middle linebacker and calls the defense.
Number 3, right?
Yeah, and he's not really a guy you'd want to lose by running the ball too much. So once we get that solidified, we're starting to get the passing game going a little bit to everybody. Smalls caught one. Elijah's had a couple big games in a row, so we're getting there.
Yeah, Matthews has got, I don't know if we can say Jalen Pretley, but he's got some ability to make some things happen. Hayden's really good in the rhythm with your play action.
When he throws the ball when he's supposed to instead of run, because he wants to run the ball too much, but we'll be all right.
Yeah, when you look at your group, identity-wise, it doesn't really change for you at Lafayette, does it?
No, I mean, it's the same thing that it always is. We just, fundamental football, we're going to run the wing tee, we're going to run it the way it's supposed to be run, and and hopefully we've got enough things in that if you adjust one way, we can adjust the other. And the kids just all run and know what they're doing.
A lot of holdovers from your staff, but a couple new faces with the last names of Dodson and Woodard. Tell me about that a little bit, if you can.
Well, Danny and I have been friends since we went to William & Mary together. I was a freshman when he was a sophomore. We roomed in the same dorm, and we've been friends ever since. And we've always said, at some point we're going to coach together. And when I got the opportunity to get him here, I got him. Mm-hmm. And then, Thad coming back from over here at War Hill was a big get too, because, he does a great job with the defense.
Sure, we know about his pops being the head coach for you. Got there. Lastly, for you, Coach, there's a key game before the big game. You have Grafton coming up before you play War Hill. Tell me about just kind of what you want to see out of your team as you prepare for those two coming off on Monday night, because the week gets short when you go from Monday to Friday.
It's a short week, so you got to get yourself turned around real quick and ready to go. Grafton's a good football team. They've got they're very solid. They got some quick backs. They're running their system and they're running it well. I think for us it'll be nice to get back home. We've been at New Kent and then here, so I think once we get back home, that's going to be something that's going to help us out a little bit with them. And then of course, like you said, the week after that's the big, and War Hill's really good. They got their back end, their back four dudes are good football players. So, but we're not bad ones. So
no, you're not. You're not backing up from anybody for sure. Well, a nice running clock win for the Rams and Andy Linn here on Monday night. We'll see you again soon. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That was Andy Linn, the head football coach of the Lafayette Rams, who won himself a state championship just a couple years back during the COVID-shortened season. Got a lot of different guys to contribute. James Spencer, 77 yards on the ground with a couple of touchdown runs on 10 carries. Nazir Walmart, it's always a blue light special when he runs the ball. Ding, ding. He's also a factor for them. He had a 32-yard dash in the second half. And as a team, Lafayette was able to churn out 222 yards on the ground to go with 77 yards passing on 5 completions, limiting Smithfield for the game to just 69 total yards of offense, only 21 yards rushing on 19 attempts. And we'll see that Lafayette defense, led by Peter Cook at linebacker and a bunch of others that were either contributors on that state championship team or young kids coming through the pike and have been part of that winning culture they've developed there. They're giving up just 9 points per game on the season before this Grafton game coming up, and Grafton's starting to play very, very well. That will be a real test for them coming up with the War Hill Lions after the Grafton game, which Grafton's not going to be a pushover either. War Hill's averaging 43.8 points per game, giving up just 4.4 points per game. So they certainly have it going on in a big, big way. So there you have it. A good performance there for the Rams of Lafayette, who have bounced back nicely from that St. Christopher's game where they had some turnovers. And it's interesting, St. Christopher's beat both Lafayette and Lake Taylor. Then they turned around and lost to Norfolk Academy this past week. And the Bulldogs, a team with the goose egg, other teams with the goose egg, War Hill's one of them. We've got Phoebus in the Peninsula, who's got Hampton, as we mentioned, coming up on Saturday. You've got the Warwick Raiders at 5-0. They're another team with a goose egg in the loss column. That's another team that hasn't been beaten yet. Kings Fork has not lost yet. You've got Maury, who has not lost yet, out of the Eastern District, a team that's been in the last 2 state championships in Class 5. Green Run out of the Beach has not lost yet. So we ask you this question as our question of the week. We want you to weigh in on X, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Tell us how many you think will be unbeaten when the playoffs start. We're at about the halfway point. The Beach could have one with Green Run. The Southeastern could have one with Kings Fork. Maury has gotten through its out-of-district games, so it figures to be most likely smooth sailing for them to the playoffs. And then you got the Bay Rivers has got one left to War Hill. Will they make it 4? The Peninsula won't have 2 because Phoebus and Warwick play each other. And let us know how many you think they'll be from the 7-5-7. Certainly, with some of them being in the same classifications, not just the same districts. You can't have as many as we've got right now. That number is going to shrink as we get into October and then the march to the championships come November when you have the state playoffs arrive in December. So we want to hear from you what you think as far as that goes. Well, the Beach District's got some games on deck coming up on Monday with Kempsville at Bayside as well as Cox at Tallwood. First, Colonials go into Ocean Lakes, who won a triple overtime classic with Kellum. Knights try to respond at 1-3 to beat winless Princess Anne. Cavaliers looking for that first win under Coach Philip Sims, the former record-setting quarterback at Oscar Smith. And Lansdowne coming off its bye at 2-2, feeling a lot better than they did to begin the season. Got that win over Bayside before the bye. Salem is sitting at 2-2 after the tough loss. And we caught up with a couple of the victorious Cox Falcons after their big win on Tuesday night over the Salem Sun Devils. And those two were the quarterback, Gage Trefry, as well as the wide receiver, Carter Rodriguez. Here's a couple of minutes with them with On the Hash with Hatfield from the Plex.
Way out of Cox High School tonight.
All right, here with a couple of the Cox Falcons heroes tonight. Gage Trefry on the left, the quarterback who threw the 15-yard winning touchdown pass to Carter Rodriguez here, number 4 on the right, late in the fourth quarter as the Falcons rally to beat Salem 17-14. Let me start with you, Gage. You all were down 11 at the half. It looked very bleak, but how did you come back and pull this game out?
We talked in the locker room. We said we were going to come out strong like we did. We scored on the first drive. We all played as a family, and we believed that we were going to come out with the dub.
Carter, at what point did you all feel like you could get this done? Was it Gerard's big catch to put you inside the 10. What gave you the belief?
I feel like the defense made this possible. We wouldn't have been here. It has been a 2-quarter shutout that got us in this position. I love my defense. I give it all to them.
You guys are now 4-1, Gage. You had a comeback a few weeks ago against Bayside in a crazy game. Looked like you were losing. You win a side. What does these type of wins do in crunch time against good teams?
They're huge. It just shows like everybody's character, how we all play together, and we're just looking one week ahead to get the next one.
Carter, I saw you guys in a preseason scrimmage against Warwick. You all have gotten a lot better from them. How have you all improved game by game, week by week from that point in late August when it was hot to now it's starting to get a little cooler?
So we have just been reflecting on Warwick game. We've been working ever since. We have never stopped pushing the gas. We have never stopped the motivation on this team. We just keep going and we push for the next game.
For both of you guys, what's this feel like to be on a little bit of a hot streak now? And for Coach Noe in his first year at the helm, how excited are you for this possibly a playoff run for this team?
Oh, it feels great. We're just looking to get it done.
How about you, Carter?
I just can't wait for that. What's next?
Well, hey, these guys got it done in crunch time, money time, fourth down, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion to win it. Carter Rodriguez, Gage, Trefry, congrats, guys, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Some clutch conversions there down the stretch. They find Gerard Johnson to set up the winning touchdown where it's Trefry to Rodriguez. Then they got the 2-point conversion. Trefry, 6 of 10 for 107 yards through the air. Rodriguez making some key receptions for them. And this is a game where Salem threw for 186 yards, a lot of them coming in the first half behind its quarterback in Jason Scooter Williams. But here they are. Cox is making some noise and looking like a team that could get a top 2 or 3 or 4 seed in Region 5A when it didn't look like that was going to be necessarily the case for them 2 weeks back. And when I saw him in a scrimmage against Warwick, I didn't see it coming at all. But Tyler Noe's thrown his hat into the ring for Coach of the Year, I think quietly, his first year at the helm, followed up some really respected coaches, and Bill Stuchelski was there for a long time. Alan Faneca, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, who was a blocker on the offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers during its you say good glory run if you want to say it, but not the glory run of the 70s, but when they were pretty good there, competing on a regular basis under the Bill Coward, then Mike Tomlin era. And Cox did it with 156 yards rushing. Not to be forgotten about their kicker, punter, Sam Braidwood, soccer kid who's been just outstanding all year long, pinning teams inside the 20, touchbacks galore. And then running the football, Tyree Jeffries, freshman, had his best game over 100 yards on the ground. So they got it done in really all facets. And to hold Salem out of the end zone in the second half, that's a heck of a job by a defense. There's just no doubt about it whatsoever. You get that done, you're doing something pretty good. As people are weighing in on our comments here, we appreciate that. Exit 160 Entertainment saying, Hat, 4 teams going to the postseason unbeaten. Maury, Phoebus, Green Run, and yes, War Hill continues to roll. Woo! Tell you what, I think 4 is the right number. Now, the question is going to be if it's those 4. I feel very good about Maury and Green Run. Phoebus, I think, holds the upper hand right now over Warwick, although I'm curious to see if the Warwick defense can really press some issues into the Phoebus offense, particularly its passing game, which was not as crisp in game 1 as it was against Oscar Smith, or versus Oscar Smith, as it was last year behind Nolan James and Jordan Bass and different cast of characters. I think they'll get it ironed out by late October under Jeremy Blunt, who's one of the best coaches around, and his staff. They'll figure things out. And War Hill's got that tough one with Lafayette. I've been on record on our Saturday show of saying that I think War Hill has the edge right now over Lafayette. If it was late October, early November, I might lean with Lafayette. I just saw Lafayette, thought they played a good game. They didn't do anything to really change my opinion of that. My colleague on Saturdays, Coach Young, is leaning with Lafayette at the moment. So one of us will be proven right. One of us will be proven wrong, if you want to call it that. And by the way, when you tune in on 757 Saturday Sports Talk this weekend, we'll also have a conversation with Tyler Noe, who got pretty emotional after the win, choked up, in fact, for the Cox Falcons after that comeback win against Salem. Their, I should say, third win by 7 points or less here in a row. All right, we'll take a timeout. We've got that Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week coming your way. We've also got the top 10s with VirginiaPreps.com, Class 6 down to Class 1, as well as a little bit of a mini snapshot preview, some quick hitter thoughts on the games this week. Make sure you always like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel with the Beach Sportsplex, Virginia Beach Sportsplex on YouTube, beachsportsplex.com. We're also on Facebook, on Twitter, X, I think it'll be Instagram up there soon as well. Share the stories, comment to us, send your questions in as well for our mailbag segments. It's On the Hash with Hatfield, and we're going to take a time out right now and hear from another set of our sponsors right here from
Man, I wish I was out there.
Let's unretire.
Why not?
Randy Moss.
Dan Marino? You alright? Hey, Grandpa! Grandpa? I still got it.
22. 22.
Delay game, number 13. Let's see. Hey. I need that senior discount. That's the game. Mr. Marino, you mind if I take a selfie? Thank you.
I'm good right here, bro.
Unretirement? Who'd be dumb enough to do that?
Back here with On the Hash with Hatfield from the Plex, and it's now time. You just saw in our last set of commercials here the Chicho's Pizza, which is so proud to bring us our Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week, and for that we say congratulations to none other than Messiah Delome of Warwick High School. They're like, come and you'll want to go home. Look at what he did in this ball game against Gloucester. You say, well, come on, Matt, it's Gloucester. That's not a big deal here. Well, it is a pretty big deal because he had 3 interceptions, a 55-yard pick six, 77-yard touchdown catch, and the Raiders of Warwick High School are off to their first 5-0 start since 2000. And they are looking like a really, really strong contender. You know, to do that on the defensive side of the ball, and he's got a boatload of schools looking at him. I've mentioned it before on the podcast and on various platforms, online, social media. He's got the likes of, you think of it with Michigan and Maryland. I think the in-state schools, UVA, Virginia Tech, and so many others are going to be in play for this young man who is just a wondrous talent. And I think he's as good with his ball skills defensively as he is on the offensive side of the ball. And he can do things when he gets the football, though, in his hands, that's for sure. So congratulations to Messiah Delome. He is the recent and latest winner for the Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week, and he'll be getting a nice little bit of shiny hardware coming his way too, I understand. So great job for him as he got it done, and he gets it done in all 3 phases. Last year, the Region 4A Defensive Player of the Year as a 10th grader. He is something special over there for Warwick High. All right, let's get to our, as we've now talked about it a little bit, teasing it, our VirginiaPreps.com latest Class 6 through Class 1 top 10s for the state. Right now, here we go for Class 6. Freedom of Woodbridge remains at the top. You've got Highland Springs right behind them. Both of those programs won state titles last year, but Highland Springs is in Division 5, beating Maury in the final. Freedom beat Madison. Madison's mighty strong right now. They beat Stonebridge to begin the year. They're number 3. Thomas Dale, its quarterback, is on the shelf for the year, and UVA commit Ethan Minter. You got South County, who's 4-1. Manchester's 3-1. Battlefield's unbeaten at 5-0. Colonial Ford's unblemished. Mountain View, South Lakes. The top 10 remains the same as it was last week for us. Over in Class 5, the top 10 is looking like this. It's Maury still at the top, Green Run 2, Warwick 3, Kingsport 4. All Tidewater teams. Now, Briar Woods, watch out for them behind Brady Carmichael at quarterback. No relation to Harold, if you're wondering, all you Eagles fans out there. They got a tough test from a Maryland team coming up. Patrick Henry dropped a spot from Roanoke. They lost to Salem last week out west. Still a very good team with the linebacker and Bodie Cahoon, the Notre Dame commit for them on defense. Joey Beasley got hurt at quarterback. We got to see what the status of him. And Indian River and Nansemond River, The Rivers bringing it up from the Southeastern at 9 and 10, respectively. Class 4, you got Phoebus at the top. Why not? They're very, very good and very, very deserving. They have certainly proved their worth and mettle over the years, many, many years. You got Verona, Dinwiddie, Salem, who got that big win. King George, who's unbeaten, as I touched on with those great receivers. EC Glass, War Hill, and Tuscarora also undefeated. Eastern View, not too shabby either. And John Champ closing out the top 10 in Class 4. Class 3, Magna Vista. Its quarterback, Simeon Moore, has put up some major numbers, folks. Watch out for them out west. Liberty Christian with a great running back in Clemson commit Gideon Davidson. Lord Botetourt got another win because of a forfeit with Appomattox. Kettle Run's unbeaten. Hopewell fell to Dinwiddie last week. Christiansburg, who won the Region 3D title, is going to be harder this year with Magna Vista and Lord Botetourt in the way. Brentsville District. Lafayette reenters the top 10 at number 8. Turner Ashby's unbeaten quietly. Shh, don't tell too many people. They want to just keep sleeping there, laying in the woods. And Heritage of Lynchburg, who lost to Liberty Christian last week, they bring up the rear at number 10. Lake Taylor dropped out. They might get back in soon. In Class 2, it's Radford at the top. Central Woodstock, who was idle, number 2. Union, who knocked off Graham. G-Men don't fall too far behind. Got some injuries. They're the defending state champs in Class 2. Riverheads, who won all those titles in Class 1, now in Class 2, the lone blemish to Central Woodstock. Glenver and Clark County were idle last week. Ridgeview, they scored a lot of points. Strasburg and Gretna, who handed Appomattox its first Dogwood District loss in 7 years, they close out the top 10. And in Class 1, at the halfway point, you could say, Honaker, Grayson County, and Essex, they're unbeaten. Sussex Central jumps Narrows, who lost to James Monroe of West Virginia. A very good team. They fall a spot. Collier Pruitt's having a great year, though. Doing it, throwing the ball, catching the ball. Rye Cove, who's putting up a lot of points. 70 last week is 6th. Patrick Henry of Glade Spring, not of Roanoke or Ashland, is 7th. Twin Springs, Northumberland, who scored over 70 on Prince Edward last week. And Bath County, they close it out at number 10. So there you have it. We've pretty much cut through everything this week. We'll just finish up here on this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield on a couple of the key games to keep an eye out for as far as this week goes. You got the the Nansemond Suffolk Academy Atlantic Shores game coming up at the Plex. That's one to watch out for. Indian River Kings Fork, I think the first to 14, maybe first to 20, but it scores a couple of touchdowns in that game is going to feel good because that's going to be a defensive dominated game. Jordan Harris is one of the best pass rushers in the state for Indian River. Hopefully he gets more of his respect and love that he deserves. Key game for the quarterbacks in this one. DeAndre Artis-Boone for Kings Fork and Tyler Allison of Indian River. Don't turn it over in this matchup. Nansemond River Western Branch is also intriguing to me. I want to see how those two teams do. Can Lake Taylor snap its streak against Booker T? They've dropped 3 in a row here. I think it could be time. Booker's surprised Granby last week with an interim head coach in Jim Flowers. So the Booker's trying to make some noise here after a very slow start to the season. You also have in the Beach District some games coming up on Monday. I'm curious to see how Kempsville responds from a tough loss to Tallwood. The Lions putting up over 31 points per game. Can they surprise Cox? That's something to watch out for. And can Hampton be the first team to score on Phoebus this year? Can Heritage be the first team to score on Warwick this year? Those are things I'm curious to see. York and Smithfield in the Bay Rivers looks like a toss-up game to me this week. There's a couple of those on the docket this week. So as we keep our eye on those picks battles that I have with the coach, Ed Young, every week, that's always fascinating to me as far as my world goes. Bethel is starting to make some noise and move upward. They lost that opener to Nansemond River, opened up with a couple blemishes, but they got Kickinton, so a chance to get over 500 for Coach David Porter. I like Victor Romaine for them. He's a sleeper. They got some talent. They're making some noise. And the big one, of course, in the Bay Rivers, a week away with Lafayette War Hill, but Grafton has plans to try to ruin that. Pocosin and Tab both trying to get some quality wins. I think they will in the BRD. That matchup on Saturday with Hampton Phoebus, it's a measuring stick for Hampton in a lot of ways to see if they can be a team that makes some noise in Region 4A. Not necessarily have to win the game, but if they can compete, I think it'll give them some belief that they can be a team that can, advance in the playoffs, which they haven't done here last couple of years as far as making some noise beyond the regular season into the postseason. So there you have it. That's going to close out this edition of the podcast. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Interact with us on our social pages. We always enjoy it and appreciate it. If you got somebody you want us to have on the show, be it a player or coach or someone involved in the game of high school football, it could even be a 757 great from yesteryear that we can catch up with. Always drop us a note and a nugget on that. We love to hear from all of you out there in our audience with On the Hash with Hatfield. So we'll talk to you next week here as we move from September into October right here from the Plex. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time right here on BeachSportsplex.com and our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel. Take care and be safe and stay dry, everyone.